I mentioned them briefly. I explored the Olmec mystery in considerable depth.
Could you explain that to people that maybe
in Fingerprints of the Gods? Yes. So,
have you ever stumbled upon something that just doesn't fit? Like finding a taco truck in the middle of a sushi festival. That's kind of what's happening with certain cultural artifacts popping up in places they really shouldn't be. From ancient Egyptian glyphs to Viking blades that really should not exist, how did these artifacts end up so far from their supposed origins? 1. Ancient Egyptian symbols in the Australian bush. Do you think the Egyptians were in Australia? Long before it was easy to travel across the world, ancient Egyptians may have left their mark on the land down under. The Gosford glyphs, a collection of over 300 carvings, look suspiciously like Egyptian hieroglyphs. You've got boats, chickens, owls, dogs, and even human figures etched into the rocks. And yes, there's even one that looks like Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of the afterlife. These symbols are carved into two large rock walls near Gosford, and their similarity to the Egyptian style is hard to ignore. It gets even more interesting when you learn that experts in hieroglyphics have studied the carvings and claim some parts can actually be translated. So maybe these aren't just random doodles after all. And then there's the weathering on the carvings. The same lichen and moss have grown over both the surface of the rock and the grooves of the carvings, which means they've likely been there for a long time. The color of the carvings and the rock is nearly identical, which suggests these symbols aren't exactly new. They could be way older than we realize. But how did they get there? Could ancient Egyptians have sailed across oceans, visiting Australia before anyone else? Some people believe it's possible, while others wonder if the carvings could be a more recent creation. But who would have gone to so much trouble? 2. The Egyptian Apis bull carving, found in a US desert. Have you ever stumbled upon something so strange that it made you question everything you thought you knew? That's exactly what happened to Nick Johnson and his brother in the Utah desert. They were on the hunt for fossils when they came across what they thought was just a bison, but it actually turned out to be an ancient bull carving. With its striking, symmetrical horns, this thing looked like the Apis bull, a major symbol in ancient Egyptian rituals linked to fertility and the afterlife. Now, how did this ancient Egyptian symbol end up in the middle of America? After 2 years of digging into this mystery, Nick found signs that the carving has some serious age to it. Mineral deposits in the grooves hint it's been around for a while, way longer than you'd expect. But wait, it gets crazier. Nearby, they found Celtic symbols and Ogham writing, an old form of script made up of vertical lines. It was used by the Irish Celts between the 4th and 10th centuries. Some believe this evidence hints at ancient Celtic explorers reaching America long before Columbus. These discoveries really make you think about the cultural exchanges that might have happened thousands of years ago. It's not just about bulls, it's about ancient peoples possibly sharing knowledge and rituals across continents. Could it be that the Egyptians and Celts had connections we've never even considered? 3. The Olmec and African contact theory. If you ever wandered through the jungles of ancient Mesoamerica and came upon the Olmec civilization that reigned from 1200 to 400 BC, you might have done a double take. Some of their colossal stone heads bear surprising similarities to certain African features, broad noses, and full lips, to be exact. Now, the Olmecs are pretty famous for their huge stone heads, some even weighing up to 40 tons. But when you look closely, you might actually notice that some of their features, the broad noses and full lips in particular, are a little too similar to certain African traits. Now, before you start drawing any conclusions, let's be a little realistic. The evidence is a bit of a mixed bag, and scholars sure do love getting into heated debates about it, which is honestly half the fun. It is true that the Olmecs were skilled seafarers, navigating rivers and coastlines like pros. So, who's to say they didn't decide to hop on a boat and explore distant lands? 4. The Viking blades, ahead of their time. What would you do if you found a sword that seemed like it was pulled straight out of a Norse saga? Well, that's exactly what the Ulfbert swords feel like. These legendary blades, dating back to around 800–1000 AD, are ridiculously rare. Only about 170 of them have been discovered, and they're not your run-of-the-mill weapons. They're crafted from incredibly pure high-carbon steel that's unlike anything else found in medieval Europe. You'll also see the name Ulfbert engraved on them, which translates to wolf-light, and most likely refers to either the swordsmith or a powerful workshop or guild that made them. And the thing is, creating steel with such little slag demanded temperatures of around 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, something that didn't pop up in Europe until much, much later. In fact, blacksmiths only seemed to figure out how to reach those extreme temperatures during the Industrial Revolution. So how did these Viking swords even get forged with such superior quality? The leading theory is that they might have imported high-quality steel from the Middle East, most likely via trade routes linked to the Volga River. The Islamic world was pretty well known for producing top-notch crucible steel, also called Damascus steel. So, could these legendary blades be a product of ancient cross-cultural connections? 5. The mysterious ring, linking two worlds. In a pretty surprising Viking burial find, archaeologists uncovered a ring with an Arabic inscription, the only one of its kind ever found in Scandinavia. Discovered in a 9th century Swedish grave, the ring bears the word Allah in Kufic script, an ancient style of Arabic writing. Researchers used advanced techniques like scanning electron microscopy and energy dispersive spectroscopy to figure out what the ring is made of. It turned out to be a silver alloy with colored glass, which was probably a novelty in Scandinavia at the time. The woman buried with the ring may have actually traveled to the Islamic Caliphate or had connections to someone who did. This small ring opens up big questions about Viking connections with the wider world, and it's hinting at unexpected cultural exchanges. But that's not all. There's a whole world of stories and artifacts that defy easy explanation. 6. The mystery of the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is a literal cultural icon wrapped in layers upon layers of mystery and speculation. Painted by Leonardo da Vinci in the early 16th century, this masterpiece hangs in the Louvre, attracting millions of visitors every year. But who really was the woman behind that enchanting smile? Well, most people believe the sitter is Lisa Gherardini, a Florentine woman. Interestingly, her grave was actually discovered in 2011. This led to attempts to reconstruct her face. Could she really be the woman in the painting? There's definitely still plenty of room for doubt. Yet, doubts linger. Some argue that she might represent an ideal rather than a specific individual. And then there are the wild theories about hidden symbols. When the Mona Lisa is mirrored, a helmet-shaped creature appears, and this same creature pops up in another of Da Vinci's works, Virgin and Child with Saint Anne. What does this mean? Are we looking at a connection to extraterrestrial life? 7. The Tashwinat mummy, a mummy before mummies. We've always thought the Egyptians were the pioneers of mummification, but what if they weren't? Back in 1958, an archaeologist named Fabrizio Mori was digging around in a cave Ouan Muhugiag in Libya when he stumbled upon something pretty unexpected. There was a bundle nestled in the soft sand. Turns out it was the desiccated body of a small child, wrapped up in goat or antelope skin and layered with leaves. This child had undergone a mummification process way before the Egyptians got in on the action. The body was carefully positioned in a fetal position, and interestingly, the child's organs had been removed and replaced with herbs, definitely a nod to the preservation techniques we associate with mummies. To top it off, there was even an ostrich eggshell necklace around the child's neck. So what does this mean? It opens up a whole new chapter in our understanding of ancient cultures and their practices. Maybe mummification wasn't exclusive to Egypt after all, suggesting that sophisticated preservation techniques were more widespread than we ever imagined. 8. The sword in the stone. Believe it or not, there's an actual sword embedded in stone at the Chapel of Montesiepi in Tuscany. This sword, dating back to the 12th century, is tied to the story of Saint Galgano Guidotti, a former knight who chose a path of peace. To prove his commitment to his new life, he drove his sword into solid rock, marking the end of his violent ways. And there it remains to this day. Now here's where things get a little interesting. The tale of Galgano sounds pretty similar to the famous King Arthur legend, with its own sword in the stone. Some even wonder if the two stories are connected. Did Galgano's symbolic act inspire the Arthurian myth, or are they just part of a larger, shared tradition? The parallels between these stories blur the line between history and legend, leaving us with plenty of room for speculation. 9. Burial number 38 at La Almoloya. Burial 38 at La Almoloya isn't just any ordinary burial, it's a Bronze Age mystery wrapped in luxury. Inside a large ceramic jar, archaeologists found two skeletons, a man and a woman. What really grabs your attention is the woman, though. She was buried with an insane collection of silver, including a stunning diadem, one of only 6 ever found in such graves. The man had passed away first and was buried in the jar, but when the woman followed, they reopened it to lay her beside him. And that diadem? It's not just a piece of jewelry. Silver crowns like this have been linked to the highest levels of power in the El Argar society. Was she a ruler in her own right? The sheer wealth buried with her suggests she wasn't just along for the ride. It raises the exciting possibility that women may have played a much bigger role in political life than we've ever given them credit for. Could this diadem be proof that she was a queen? 10. The remains of a sea monster. In 2009, something huge was pulled from the cliffs of Dorset, and no, it wasn't a fossilized shipwreck, it was a pliosaur, one of the largest marine reptiles ever discovered. This massive creature, sometimes referred to as a sea monster, lived about 75 to 150 million years ago during the age of the dinosaurs. Its fossilized skull alone measured over 2 meters. That's longer than most people are tall. Its jaw was packed with an incredible 130 teeth. And we're not talking small teeth. These were the size of bananas. Stretching over 16 meters in length, the pliosaur was the ultimate marine predator. Its jaws were so powerful they could crush through pretty much anything in the ocean, from fish to other marine reptiles. Some experts even believe its bite was stronger than that of a T-Rex. 11. The 9 Rings of Orense. In the charming city of Orense, Spain, there's a mystery that blurs the lines between legend and reality: the miracle rings. These rings, gifted by Saint Euphemia, are said to have miraculous healing powers. According to local law, touching them could cure anything from skin diseases to arthritis. But over time, these rings went missing. Did they get hidden away? Stolen? Or did they just get lost in the shuffle of history? It's a mystery that has fueled many a treasure hunt, captivating locals and historians alike. Then enter Maria Orunha, a talented author who penned a novel that predicted where some of these rings might be. When the searchers went out, they found 4 of them exactly where she said they would be. How wild is that? It raises some questions. Are these rings really magical relics of the past, or is it just an incredible coincidence? The mystery lives on. 12. Where is Alexander the Great buried? Guess what? We might be on the verge of uncovering the final resting place of none other than Alexander the Great. Researchers at the British Museum are buzzing with excitement after using augmented reality to connect a Macedonian block found in the crypt of St. Mark in Venice to a sarcophagus discovered in Alexandria, Egypt. Can you believe it? This suggests that the remains inside could actually be those of the legendary conqueror. The fit is absolutely incredible. It's like they were destined to go together. Andrew and Joseph, the masterminds behind this discovery, have been piecing together the puzzle using decades of research. They've digitally reconstructed the tomb to show what it might have looked like, and every angle aligns perfectly. Talk about architectural finesse. What's even cooler? The symmetry in the design reflects the classic style of Macedonian architecture. At first, it sounded a bit out there, but the more they dug into the evidence, the more convincing it became. Each piece of this ancient mystery is falling into place, and it's hard not to get excited about the possibility of finally finding Alexander's tomb. 13. The Ashoka Rock Edicts in Pakistan. Would you ever expect to find Buddhist artifacts in Pakistan of all places? No, right? But guess what? It's true. The Ashoka Rock Edicts in Mansehra are a true head-scratcher. Dating back to the 3rd century BCE, these inscriptions were made by Emperor Ashoka, who was all about spreading Buddhism and promoting peace. So how did these ancient messages land all the way in Pakistan? Well, Mansehra was a bustling trade hub back then, and it's believed that these edicts were carved there to reach travelers and traders passing through. They served as a kind of ancient billboard, spreading Ashoka's message far and wide. But it raises even more questions. Were there hidden Buddhist communities thriving in what's now Pakistan? Or was Ashoka trying to create a network of connections between different cultures? 14. The Villa of Mysteries. Have you ever heard of the Villa of Mysteries in Pompeii? This site is like stepping into a time capsule from ancient Rome, and it's packed with fascinating stories. Discovered in 1909, the villa features some of the most captivating frescoes that give us a glimpse into the rituals of a mysterious cult. The house belonged to a wealthy family, and among them was a priestess, possibly depicted in a striking sculpture. You can even spot traces of reddish paint in her hair and grooves where a diadem should have rested. Some experts speculate that her head might have been replaced with that of Livia, the wife of Emperor Augustus. The vivid wall paintings depict a young woman undergoing a rite of passage, which some believe is linked to the cult of Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy. As you wander through the villa, you can't help but feel the electric energy of those ancient rituals, where secrets of life, death, and rebirth were explored. What's even more intriguing? Wandering through the villa, you'll also find 2 plaster casts of bodies in the atrium, part of a total of 9 discovered throughout the site. These haunting figures give us a chilling reminder of the volcanic eruption that buried Pompeii. 15. The Mask of Agamemnon. The Mask of Agamemnon feels like something straight out of an adventure story. Discovered in 1876 by the German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann at the ancient site of Mycenae in Greece, this stunning gold mask has captured hearts and minds since the moment it was unearthed. Schliemann was convinced he'd found the burial mask of Agamemnon, the legendary king from Homer's Iliad who led the Greeks in the Trojan War. Made from gold, the mask features an elongated face, a prominent beard, and eyes that almost seem to follow you. It's got this eerie, lifelike quality. The craftsmanship is top-notch, showcasing the skills of the Mycenaean civilization that flourished around 1600 to 1100 BCE. But here's where it gets interesting. Some historians think the mask might not actually belong to Agamemnon at all. Radiocarbon dating hints that it could predate him by centuries, and there's no solid evidence linking it to the famed king. So, was Schliemann just playing up the drama, or is there more to this golden mystery? Whatever the case, the mask continues to be a captivating piece of ancient Greek culture, leaving us all wondering about its true origins. 16. The curious case of copycat pyramids. Everyone knows that Egypt isn't the only place on Earth for pyramid-like structures. Take a stroll through Central and South America, and you'll find an abundance of pyramids in places like Mexico and Peru. The Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas all built their own versions, each with special twists. But how did these ancient civilizations come to create such similar monuments? Did the Egyptians have some sort of secret influence? Or is it just a wild coincidence that different cultures were erecting their own pyramids at the same time? Theories are flying around. Some folks think it could be a case of parallel development, humans across the globe finding similar solutions to the same challenges. But then there are the more out there ideas, like ancient migrations or even extraterrestrial guidance. Just imagine, what if aliens did really drop by Earth thousands of years ago, sharing their advanced architectural knowledge with different civilizations? Some conspiracy enthusiasts even point to the precision of these structures, suggesting that the techniques used to construct the pyramids were far too advanced for the time. They even argue that the alignment of the pyramids with celestial bodies hints at some kind of foreign influence. 17. The mysterious floating city that appeared in China. In 2018, something extraordinary happened in China. A mysterious floating city seemed to appear out of nowhere. Spotted in the sky over the city of Hunan, the phenomenon was so surreal that it led to wild speculation and countless theories. As reports flooded in, people described seeing towering skyscrapers and entire neighborhoods hovering above the landscape, seemingly suspended in midair. While some claimed it was a mirage or a glitch in the atmosphere, others suggested it might be a glimpse into parallel dimensions or advanced technology that we don't yet understand. Scientists quickly got involved, attributing the sighting to an optical illusion caused by a combination of atmospheric conditions and temperature inversions. Still, that didn't stop the buzz. Whether it was a trick of the light or something more mystical, this floating city captured the hearts of many, reminding us that in our modern world, the mysteries of the unknown still exist. 18. The Moai of Easter Island. Ever wondered how those massive stone statues on Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, got there? It's a mystery that's been puzzling people for ages. These towering moai, some weighing over 80 tons, were carved from volcanic rock and transported across the island. How did they do it? Did they roll them on logs? Or maybe they used a rope system to make them walk? And why were they made in the first place? Some think they're ancestors, symbols of power, but there's still a lot we don't know. Over time, Easter Island's environment changed and the trees disappeared. Could the Moai have been part of the problem? Or were they a desperate attempt to hold on to their culture? They're like silent guards, watching over the island and keeping its secrets. 19. The Shiva Linga of India. Hidden beneath the Shalmala River in Karnataka, India, the Shiva Lingams are truly a sight to behold. These stone sculptures, which represent the god Shiva, stay underwater for most of the year, but make a grand appearance during Mahashivaratri when the river levels drop. It's like a surprise reveal that thousands of pilgrims look forward to. Some people even believe these ancient symbols might actually be linked to advanced technology. The shape of the lingam looks a lot like modern nuclear reactors, and the grooves around the base could even symbolize waste disposal. So, when worshippers pour water over these sacred stones, are they tapping into some ancient technology? Since we've covered a lot of ground, let's get right into a modern mystery that seems nowhere close to being solved. 20. The mystery of Banksy's identity. Banksy is one of the art world's biggest enigmas. This elusive street artist has managed to remain under the radar, pulling off incredible stunts while keeping his true identity a secret. In a time when technology seems to reveal everything about everyone, the mystery surrounding Banksy makes you wonder, will we ever really know who he is? Recently, he made waves with an animal-themed art trail in London. This clever collection features different creatures, each piece bursting with Banksy's signature style and social commentary. From a goat wobbling on the edge of a cliff to piranhas invading a police box, and even a gorilla trying to pry open the gates of London's zoo, Banksy's creations are as surprising as they are mind-bending. While people flock to see his latest creations, the question lingers: how does he manage to pull off these elaborate installations without getting caught? With every new piece, Banksy keeps us guessing, making the hunt for his identity even more thrilling. Will we ever uncover the mysteries that continue to elude us? Only time will tell.